Hey there, hope you're having a great week. Got a thought for you to maybe help you spiritually and just give you something to think about this day. Each winter we transition to spring, and it's a sometimes a turbulent time of the year. There's some challenges. So we've had some pretty strong March winds already, a couple different days. They were pretty gusty, and I've kind of noticed through the years, they in our woods, for example, dead limbs, loose limbs, dying limbs, weak limbs. These gusty winds come along, kind of clean the trees. They kind of clean the house out, so to speak, and knock all that stuff around and get it out of the trees. Well, I want to talk about house cleaning a little bit. So think about with me for what happened early this week. I think Monday. It was a medium temperature day for this time of year, but then all of a sudden in the afternoon with the precip, it got freezing, just below freezing, and you'd get these thick, short icicles everywhere. And we had them on trees, we had them on our cars, we had them on other things like signs and so forth. Some places the ground cover and the bushes would also be coated, and so it caused some power outages. Well, the next day, Mindy told me about some tree limbs that were down that were probably cut down by the folks repairing the power line. So I went out and checked those out yesterday. That was Tuesday, and kind of cleaned those up, put them up in our woods where they can just decay and they're out of the way. But I noticed that one of them, it was a branch about this thick, probably 5-6 foot long, and there were two sections on it that were burnt. There were scorch marks on it, and I thought, that's probably why we had our power outage. So I'm just want to say thanks to the guys who took care, or gals who took care of trimming that out and getting our power back on. And I know for us it's REMC. Some of you may have had the same problem around the county and other places. So thankful for those guys. It's that time of year where those guys have a little more extra work, when some of that stuff happens. So I want to read from Psalm 139. I'm not going to read the whole psalm. It's a really good psalm, but I hope you will go read it. But I want to focus on the last two verses. When we realize that God searches our hearts, our minds, and He knows everything about us, it can encourage us to have a humble heart, and it can encourage us to walk the right path. Sometimes we get a little stubborn. I have that sometimes. We get a little stubborn, and we just want to do our, like a 2-year-old, 3-year-old. We know that's what we're supposed to do, but we want to go this way, and God has to remind us. But listen to these two verses. Psalm 139. Search me, O God, know my heart. Test me and know my anxious thoughts. Point out anything in me that offends you. Lead me along the path of everlasting life. That's the New Living Translation. Good stuff. Good stuff. You can read it in several different translations. They're all pretty good. King James, you can't miss on this one. Search me, O God, know my heart. Try me, and know my thoughts. See if there be any wicked way in me, and lead me in the way everlasting. Let me walk through some of the key words. So some translations test, some try, or know my heart, or test me, and know my anxious thoughts. The knowing is pretty easy where we get that, but the testing, God, kind of like a March wind, sometimes He tests us to see where we're strong and flexible, where we need to be, and where we need pruning, where we're broken up, where we have sin marring our lives. I think that's what David is writing here for us. And it's this idea of exploring. God is exploring our heart and our mind. And He's seeking out. All of us nowadays, we know how to search. We search our computers. We search Google. We search different web browsers or even on an app. We just search to get information. And God does that. And He knows us really, really well. And it's this idea that He is testing our faith. I'm in the Family Life Center here at church. You see behind me the blue curtain. And I was thinking, it kind of reminds me, as we go through life, we want to look good in front of people, and we want to be respected and appreciated. But God sees behind the curtain, and He knows how we look, really. He knows our flaws. He knows our temptations, our weak areas. He knows the things that are wrong in our motives, the things that we may be plotting to do that are not right. He sees all of that. In this verse 23, it mentions, and know my anxious thoughts, or just know my thoughts. And The anxious idea comes from what the Hebrew word has to say here. It can be a thought, a feeling. It can be anxiety. It can be something that keeps you from being at peace within you. And he's saying, God knows that too. Search me. Know all this stuff. I thought it was really interesting, though, as I looked this study over, about verse 24. See if there be any wicked way in me, or the New Living Translation. Point out anything that offends you. And it's maybe an awkward word to translate because it can actually mean pain in the sense that, am I living my life in a way that's painful? Am I taking myself in a way that's going to cause painful consequences? That might be a way to look at it. And so, is it a way that's going to cause harm to my walk with the Lord? See that stuff, Lord. See what I'm doing here. So just a reminder, look at Psalm 139, especially verses 23, 24. When we let God, and when we realize God tests us, searches us, and knows us, it can humble us. And we need to be open to let him point out what needs to be cleaned up, pruned back, or tossed out in our lives. Then the hard part is, do it. God bless you. Take care.